We will call the April 22nd annual meeting of the Joint Local Development Finance Authority Troy Subcommittee to order. Roll. Mr. Latham?
Chair Robin Beltramini.
Present.
Paul Huff.
I'm here.
John Sharp.
Here.
Nicholas Vitale.
Here.
Dane Slater is an alternate. Ellen Hoderick is an alternate. And Dan Hunter represents the county, who's non-voting, and they are absent.
Thank you. So quorum present.
Correct.
All right, the first order of business is election of officers. So the chair will entertain a motion to nominate. We need to choose a president and, or a chairman and a secretary.
Correct.
Who's the secretary?
Mark?
Mark.
Oh.
But it's gonna be Glenn.
Oh, it's gonna be Glenn.
Making that recommendation. Yeah.
That's the recommendation. They may not agree with that.
Yeah.
Robin Beltramini for chair and Glenn Lappin for secretary.
I'll second.
Any other nominations? All right. All those in favor of the motion as stated?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Thank you very much. Motion carries. All right, you received the regular meeting schedule in your packet. The next
Yeah.
meeting is scheduled for October 21st. I assume you all checked your calendars.
Madam Chair, I'd like to point out for October 21st, I have a conversation with the city of Southfield, our partner in this, and
Yes.
there's actually a discussion about having maybe a joint meeting at
What
that
about
time
you?
and do it here.
Terrific.
So,
Does the
That being
21st
noted.
work for our members before we solidify that with them?
Sure it
I
does.
don't
Let me
see
check.
any reason it wouldn't.
Works for me.
and the committee already approved the schedule from last.
Yes, we did. But this is a good time to change it if people
Correct.
have
No,
found some conflict.
it's on my calendar.
Mine too, I found that.
No conflict.
All right, so we're good with that. If you would facilitate that, Glenn, I'd appreciate
Yep,
it.
will do.
Thank you. All right. The approval of the minutes from the October 29th meeting. That would have been our last meeting 6 months ago.
I have one minor correction.
Sure.
Name, spelling.
Pardon?
Spelling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darn, keep telling
We always, yep.
There's a C between the I's.
Yes.
Yep.
And then I noticed that, it's like, yep, change that again.
She really does think you play hockey. Any other corrections to the minutes to be found? All right. Motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor of approving as corrected? Say
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Tom Kelly, the CEO of Automation Alley, is with us today to bring us up to date on the goings-on there. And so I will give you the floor. And if you don't mind, if we have questions, can we interrupt you?
Absolutely.
Or would you rather that we wait?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Absolutely. I'm always delighted to be here. The support that we receive from the city of Troy is fantastic. We've had a great partnership for, I believe, our entire 20-year history, if you can believe it. Automation Alley has been doing our work for 20 years now. I've been the executive director and CEO for going on my third year. If you recall, the last time I was here, we sort of changed our strategy because the world is changing around us. And our strategy today is to help industry, be it manufacturing or retail or agriculture or healthcare, to understand the digitization of business. Automation Alley is sort of our roots, if you will, of understanding automation both at the white collar level and at the what we call the blue collar level. And there's so much change happening. So if I could, I'd like to give you just a brief update But before I give you an update, thank you very much for the support on our parking lot, which I think we'll talk about in the next phase. It looks great. That's important because Automation Alley has always been a kind of regional focused entity. And as the world globalized, I felt the need that we needed to also be recognized globally for the work that we do. And so we went down this Industry 4.0 path. And in doing so, we got the attention of the World Economic Forum, which you may or may not know is one of the, one of those entities that really sets the standard and the pace for how we think about the fourth industrial revolution. Their founder, Klaus Schwab, Dr. Klaus Schwab out of Germany, is a big proponent of this digitization of everything and the risks and opportunities that are encapsulated in that. And so they saw what we were doing, and they have a center in Silicon Valley. But when they saw what we were doing around Industry 4.0, they wanted to partner with us. And so we have a formal partnership here, Little Automation Alley, out of Troy, has a formal partnership with the World Economic Forum, and they are partners with us now on all of our initiatives. And what they do is bring a global perspective to us, but more importantly, they tell our story of how we're helping our companies digitize and all the risks and opportunities associated with that on the global stage. And that is the most powerful thing, I think, for us as participants in the city of Troy, that we want to create a global reputation that we not only embrace what the future beholds, but we're creating it together. So I'm very excited. I did bring along some materials. It's going to be hard for the audience at home to participate, but there's a document that we created for the incoming governor to understand what's happening with Industry 4.0, how to be prepared. This was done in conjunction with two entities, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, which has been a good partner of ours as well, and the World Economic Forum. So we feel the information contained here is well vetted, both on the global stage and at the statewide level. And what it does is it really lays out what do we think government, academia, and industry should be focused on in a long strategic arc. What are the things that we should be cognizant of that if we don't do long-term planning can be problematic. And so I encourage you, and I'm happy to take questions on it. You don't have to read it here today, but it is a relatively light read. We tried to not turn it into a technical paper that would be quite boring, but to actually try and be useful.
Is this available on your website?
This is available on our website.
Okay, so people who want to know what you're doing just in general, this is a good overview.
They could go to automationalley.com and a lot of information beyond just this. And we will be releasing Monday another very key report. We've partnered with 10 academic institutions to help us understand the various sectors. Think artificial intelligence, 3D printing, modeling, virtual reality, augmented reality. You know, all of these technologies are disruptive in their own right. But because they're all acting on one another, the disruption becomes exponential. And we see industry after industry, as these technologies come in, they cause massive disruption and dislocation. We think ultimately the world will be a much better place, but we don't want to live through if you remember when China came on the scene, Michigan suffered greatly for a decade while we worked through those strategic problems of a global supply chain versus a local supply chain. We think the potential for the same to happen as you automate things. There will be great winners, but there'll also be losers. We want to be on the winning side of that equation. And so we have a report coming out which helps our industry navigate these changes. So it's 150 pages, and it does a deep dive around artificial intelligence. And if you're a small company, not a big company, this report is not designed to move the needle for our largest companies in the region, but for the supply chain. If it's artificial intelligence, most small businesses don't understand it, don't understand how to use it, don't understand how to impact them. So we try and create a story around here's how it might impact you, and here's how you might want to act. So with that, I'm happy to take questions, Madam Chairwoman, but I'm so appreciative of the help you've given us.
Just a curiosity question. I've always been curious about our trade missions, whether the state does it or locally through Oakland County. I know you have in your initiatives here, how receptive are these trade missions? I mean, you go to China and who do you meet with? And
So let me give you a little background, Paul, on that. So we've conducted dozens and dozens of trade missions over the last 14, 15 years.
Right.
We take small businesses, many of them within the Troy area, Glenn and Mark are well aware of what we do, and we actually introduce them to companies that could use their product or service, and we create that concierge level introduction. In the life of these trade missions, these are specific Automation Alley trade missions, not the ones the MEDC does on their own. We've generated over $1 billion, that's with a B, $1 billion of contracts for small manufacturers. So we specifically take manufacturers that are very small, 10, 20 million in revenue, and we teach them, first we create the introduction, and then we teach them how to get the contract and then how to export. Because once you understand how to export, you realize it's not that scary. I know how to do it, and then I can export to Europe, and I can export to Brazil, and so we sort of take them through. I don't think, of course, it's measurable from an economic numbers basis, but I think that's one of the most successful programs we have, is taking small businesses overseas to teach them how to participate in a global world. It really helps de-risk their business, because there's always a bull market somewhere, as Jim Cramer likes to say, and so when you allow them to have contracts not just within our local community, it de-risks the businesses in our local community, because while we're down, they're able to continue to get money from outside the region. So I hope that answered your question.
yeah, I mean, there's so many ways to do it. I know that we work closely with the SBA too, and their
Yeah.
Export-Import Bank, often tries to demystify the ability to do work overseas and kind of get some insurance against imported accounts receivables. So
And we do work with the SBA. That's a great
Right.
program, because sometimes you need a letter of credit
right,
to be able to do the international fund transfers. So yeah, all of those are very important organizations that we work with. Department of Commerce, Department of State, the MEDC, of course, the SBA, they're all involved.
yeah, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oakland County goes to the one big show in Germany, where, I forget the name of that one.
Hanover Messe?
Yeah, they go to that, and we've elected not to travel.
And we actually, for the record, we actually run that mission
Yeah.
as well, with Oakland County.
And sometimes, I think
We are the partner.
Auburn Hills has gone,
Mhm.
maybe.
Southfield.
Southfield, maybe.
Yes.
But-
And you're welcome to join us as well.
We found that it probably isn't cost effective
Yeah.
at the city level.
Yeah. Well, we got your back on that. That's why we
We
exist in
appreciate
Troy.
that.
Yeah.
That costs us a parking lot that works for us.
Yes, and again, thank you. Very, very nice.
Anything else? Oh, we really thank you. Anytime you come to touch us, it's a great experience. So thank you for being here and bringing us up to date.
I would like to bring for you in October the report, the 150-page report. I know it's not light reading, but it's not out yet, so I can't share it, but it's coming out soon.
Yeah, we love it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Parking lot improvements. Glenn,
Yes.
you want to make a little presentation of that?
Quick summary on that. We'll be getting into the budget in a bit, but there has been a line item on the budget to support infrastructure improvements in the district, and specifically for the parking situation over at Automation Alley. The anticipation was to do that over a period of time, depending upon need, and it turned out there was a great need initially this past year because the parking lot was going very, very quickly. It was getting very difficult to enter and leave the Automation Alley parking lot because of the condition of that roadway. So they went ahead and had to do it in terms of emergency repairs. And so we've been working with them all along. They put together a complete invoice. We knew that we had some money set aside for part of that, depending upon the money that comes in through the tax increment. So we can't commit to something unless we get it in first. So I think there's understanding with Automation Alley as well that, there's times that maybe we will not have the money to assist, but we do in this case, and we hope to, at least over the future, be able to look at next phases of the project as well. So in your packet, there's a copy of the agreement that the city has with Automation Alley. Just kind of outlines the project in general, and then kind of the standards for future requests for assistance through that. So the parking lot expense in the initial phase that has been completed is about $63,631.22, which we have accounted for from the previously approved budget. And I'm not sure if Tom, you have anything to add to that? I know it's finished. You're happy with the work?
Absolutely.
I'm happy with the work every time I drive in and out of there, because it's smoother. And I think you have future phases that you are looking at.
Yes, we'll work with the city on phases 2 and 3. We did the first third of our parking lot, which was obviously the most critical. It was the most in disrepair. It really was in a state of disrepair. And not only was it important just to fix it for not, having people fall into a pothole with their vehicle, but it sends the right message. It's now that first third that people see is beautiful. It makes the right impression when you're dealing with an organization like ours that is trying to set the thought leadership bar. It makes a great deal of difference, and for that I'm very thankful. It made our life much, much easier to spread the brand of us and City of Troy.
It's difficult if you have a disreputable front door.
I agree. I agree, Nick. Yes.
Nick?
Quick question, the budget was, for 19 was 45,000, the estimated was 55,000, and the actual was 63.6. We'll just absorb that on the bottom line, or are we taking it from another line, or am I looking at it wrong?
No, it's part of the parking, the infrastructure line,
Okay,
so
so
we're
that
coming out
is
of that.
that line.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so it'll just change the bottom line?
Right.
Okay. And then we expect to spend these other amounts in the out years?
Yes, going forward.
And our revenue is directly attributable to tax dollars coming in. So those are real estimates in the
Right.
budget, because it isn't real money to us until we actually get notified by the county
Is
what
it-
was captured.
A real estimate, is that an oxymoron?
Well, it's totally dependent on actual taxes. It's dependent on actual taxes.
Right, exactly.
While we're at the budget,
We'll get there.
Are we there?
We'll get there. We're not there yet.
We're all looking at it.
Yeah.
I kind of linked it with
Yeah,
the parking.
we're like third graders with the price of it.
Okay.
But if you have no other concerns or questions, we can handle the rest, I think, in the budget.
Mhm.
And we're glad we could help. So
Thank you.
let's move on to the 2019-2020 budget.
You have in your packet the three-year budget, 2019 and 2020 through 21-22. And as Mark mentioned, so revenue comes in from the property taxes within the district, and those revenues are captured as part of that. So a fairly recent new line of revenue that has come in is that second line there, which is indicated as state revenue sharing, EMPP, which stands for equipment, manufacturers, personal property. So we get that from the state. So the state has eliminated the personal property tax for certain manufacturing businesses, and cities throughout the state receive a reimbursement from the state for a portion of that to help them balance the books and to make any expenditures that they may need. Otherwise, it would have been kind of a big hit on a lot of the communities throughout the state. So that line indicates the estimated dollars coming in for that. So it's approximately around $40,000 per year that come in for that. That can be attributed to the SmartZone area in LDFA.
Glenn, has Mr. Darling calculated how that would compare if we were getting actual first-rate dollars that weren't
I don't know.
funneled somewhere?
I don't know that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then the remainder of that is interest income for the revenue line that totals up there, total revenues. Expenditures going out, a portion of the revenues going out is for Automation Alley operations that we've helped supported from day one, as Tom indicated, for going back 20 years now. The second line we talked a little bit about, the infrastructure, specifically focused at the present time on the parking lot. Now, in the past, we've also done infrastructure improvements on Big Beaver, on that cross area over there, so that all the dollars have gone into kind of improving the entrance into that area along Bellingham and Big Beaver. Tax tribunals, we've seen those go away pretty much, so I think our assessor is confident that they'll continue to be like that. So that's that's blank at that point. So administrative services charge, $5,000 across the board. Marketing costs, which is devoted to a foundation level membership for Automation Alley, and that is currently at $17,500 a year. And audit fees that go out as well, estimated at around $2,000 approximately. And then kind of an other number that is thrown in there. So that's how you reach the bottom line. At the bottom, kind of goes through the captured taxable value based upon the use. So whether it's industrial, commercial, in that area, and the revenues kind of outlines it a little bit better. It takes a looking going forward as well over the 3 years. And on the second page of that, talks about, kind of continues along the industrial, commercial, and how it lays out the millage rates and what is captured as part of that total.
So my question is, there's a projection in the budget between 2019 and 2020. It goes up like approximately $40,000. Why? Just wondering.
You talk about on the revenue for property taxes?
Yes.
Approximately 107,000 up to 157,000. I think it's because of the increase in valuation in those areas that's anticipated. I think the assessor is feeling confident.
More buildings going into the industrial park, or what is that?
I think they're looking at more valuation as opposed to more buildings per se going in.
Okay,
It's a huge increase.
yeah.
Yeah, given that taxable value can only go up,
3%.
well, not to exceed five.
Inflation.
CPI, Consumer Price Index, not to exceed 5%. So the only thing it can be is new construction or transfer of property, because when there's a transfer of property, your taxable value goes up to your assessed value goes, your taxable value goes to your assessed value. We can double check why, and get that sent a note back why I think that's gonna happen. And I know historically, both our city assessor and financial services director are very conservative, so if they're putting those numbers in, they must be pretty certain of it.
We have to either approve or amend this budget today so that it can be voted on by council. Would you, when you get an answer on that, would you send an email to all of us just as a point of information? That would be helpful. I've learned to trust their judgment, but it would be nice to have some.
It's just such a big increase.
Yeah.
Well,
it's-
and-
Like 46%.
And we can reveal to you now, because there's an application in the planning department, Altair is looking at expanding. Significant redevelopment,
Cool. More electric buses.
which is mostly, but not all of it is in the LDFA TIF area.
But it would have to be complete before we'd see it in our budget, so.
You see the increments as they
Yeah, we do.
construct.
Well, this is 2 years out, 2020.
Well, technically it's
Year and a
next year.
half out.
It's next year.
Yeah.
So by the end of next year, that may be, or by,
Yeah, it's really like 9
Next.
months out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, because the
Well-
tax value date for 2020 is 12/31/19, right?
right.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any leaks or if that's too dramatic, but I had thought I had heard that Altair was, some months ago that they were expanding. So.
Yeah, we knew about it, but we weren't talking about it because they didn't have an application in their office.
Okay.
That's very common in our world, is if people talk to us, we don't necessarily talk about it to other people.
Right.
But once there's an application in our office, it's public information.
Do you need a motion then to approve?
Well,
Yeah,
Glenn
just like-
had a comment.
Yeah, I just would like to point out that the 2018 actual was 160,746 on the revenues. So
Personal property taxes.
So is it possible 19 is way understated?
that's possible. So it kind of, now it gets back into normal when you get into the next couple of years after
I
that.
think, yeah, it might be
It's-
probable, if we could just get an answer.
Yeah.
Because it's going from 160 down to 109 and then back up to 156.
Well, if you notice, there was no personal property reimbursement in
In
2018.
2018.
So either that was real personal property tax that we collected,
Yeah.
and I think that is the case. So that was part of why I asked the question that I did, because in talking to other communities, most of them are not happy with the adequacy of the reimbursement. So I asked. So if you'll email us on those two matters.
So
Now-
was the EMPP buried then in property taxes for 18? Is that what you're saying?
No, there was no EMPP, we actually collected property tax,
In lieu of-
personal property
yeah.
tax.
And then it was
Okay,
taken
so
away
that
from the
explains
That was the
reduction.
last year of that.
And there was some uncertainty exactly how it all would happen.
So I think they're being cautious at that time, estimated much lower, and now that you get the real numbers back, that it's not as bad.
Yeah,
With the
so we'll see.
It looks like there's net new funds of 47,000, 49,000, probably due to Altair.
So if you are comfortable enough, the chair would entertain a motion to pass this or correct it in some way.
Yeah,
Yes?
Madam Chair, actually, the resolution that we'd like to see is that it would be to adopt the budget contingent upon city council's approval of the budget.
That's right.
Unless, of course, there are modifications, and then that could be something
So-
you can.
Can I make that motion?
You can.
With the slight addition that we do receive prior to city council meeting, the explanation on property tax line?
Absolutely. Add that to the resolution.
If you will add that to the official resolution that you have penned in,
Second.
okay?
You can tweak that one.
So I have a motion before the committee that says that we vote to approve the budget for the next 3 years as amended, and recommend to city council that they approve and adopt this budget, as long as we have information to our two questions before the city council vote on May 5th,
Correct.
whenever it is. So all those who can live with that and are in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Board member comment?
No?
Been a big meeting.
We did receive, or I did at least, a letter from the city asking if I was interested in serving. Do we hear back on that, or is it
Yes, you
just-
will.
I'm an
You will.
official?
You turned it in?
I did.
Okay, yes, you will hear back after council votes.
Okay.
So, yes. Anything else? Well, we have no members of the public other than Tom. Have you thought of something you left out?
Thank you again.
Okay, we're good.
Of course.
All right, then, we shall adjourn at 4 PM.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thanks, guys.